This video is part B of Chapter 5. Perhaps the world's most famous supercomputer is the IBM-created Jeopardy! Playing Watson. Built to quickly answer questions posed in natural language by the end of a televised 3-day tournament, Watson had put the hurt on prior Jeopardy! Champs Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, trouncing the human rivals and winning $1 million. The deep QA technology behind Watson might end up in people's doctor's office, and doctors could likely use that kind of exobrain. A physician assistant Watson could leverage massive diagnosis databases while scanning hundreds of pages in a person's medical history, providing a best guess at what doctors should be paying attention to. Today, Watson technology has been applied to over 75 industries in 17 nations, with tens of thousands of people leveraging Watson smarts to assist their own work, microprocessors that work together simultaneously to solve problems. Rapid obsolescence means the creation of ever-growing mountains of discarded tech junk known as electronic waste or e-waste. Each year we create over 50 million tons of e-waste. The amount of e-waste discarded in just 1 year is the equivalent of throwing away all of the commercial aircraft ever built throughout history. Without radical intervention, annual e-waste is expected to more than double in the next 3 decades, and the results aren't pretty. Consumer electronics and computing equipment can be a toxic cocktail that includes cadmium, mercury, lead, and other hazardous materials. Crushing flammable lithium-ion batteries in with paper, cardboard, and other fire fuel has led to an uptick in recycling center fires. In the United States, the e-waste volume amounts to about 42 pounds per person annually, and while e-waste is only about 2% of waste, it represents more than 2/3 of discarded toxic heavy metals. Once called the effluent of the affluent, e-waste will only increase with the rise of living standards worldwide. The quick answer would be to recycle this stuff. Not only does e-waste contain mainstream recyclable materials like plastics and aluminum, it also contains small bits of increasingly valuable metals such as silver, platinum, and copper. In fact, a ton of discarded smartphones contains more than 100 times the amount of gold than is found in a ton of ore. Done right, recycling produces far less CO2 emissions and other pollution than mining, and it's 13 times cheaper to extract precious and rare earth metals from discarded electronics than it is to mine them from the earth. There's often a disconnect between consumers and managers who want to do good and those efforts that are actually doing good. The complexities of the modern value chain, the vagaries of international law, and the nefarious actions of those willing to put profits above principle show how difficult addressing this problem will be. Sending e-waste abroad can be 10 times cheaper than dealing with it at home, and through 2017, China was recycling some 70% of the world's e-waste, much of it processed in dreadful conditions. Consider examples extensively chronicled by organizations such as the Silicon Valley Toxics Coalition, the Basel Action Network, and Greenpeace. Their research has documented workers without protective equipment breathing clouds of toxins generated as they burn the plastic skins off of wires to get at the copper inside. Others use buckets, pots, or wok-like pans to sluice components in acid baths to release precious metals, recovery processes that create even more toxins. The area around one site had lead and heavy metal contamination levels some 400 to 600 times greater than what international standards deem safe. It was so polluted that drinking water had to be trucked in from 18 miles away. Pregnancies were 6 times more likely to end in miscarriage, and 70% of the kids in the region had too much lead in their blood. Philadelphia is now burning half of what it collects as recycling, and despite setting a goal of reducing trash 75% by 2020, Californians recycled less in 2017 than any time since measurement began. With China no longer a buyer of trash, there is now far too much supply in all recyclables. Unlike in the past when recyclables could be sold for raw material, they have now become worthless waste that municipalities need to pay to have carted away. While the European Union and other nations have improved environmental legislation, things in the United States seem to be moving in the other direction. while the Basel Convention on Hazardous Waste, a treaty that restricts the exports of e-waste, has some 186 signatories. The U.S. is the only industrial nation that hasn't signed on. There is no U.S. legislation covering e-waste. The issue is handled by states, and by 2018, 15 states didn't have any e-waste legislation at all. Yes, you do have to pay attention to this garbage, but the Internet of Trash may help. No solutions are big enough to make e-waste issues go away completely, but tech itself will increasingly present solutions to trash problems. Waste Management, one of the biggest players in the trash and recycling game worldwide, now uses 3 different types of robots to separate recycling from contaminants. And in specific tasks, they're doing their job better, quicker, and more cost effectively than humans. Moore's Law means sensors used for detection are now cheaper and more accurate, while machine learning in the cloud continuously improves computer vision and other models so that bots do a better job, enabling tech to help you put garbage in the right place. The firm Compology makes a smart dumpster that detects if regular garbage has been mixed in with recyclables. Since a single contaminated piece could spoil a whole truckload, recycling firms get a heads up to not haul away the bad stuff, ensuring corporations take their recycling more seriously. As tech gets cheaper, expect RFID and similar technology to be embedded in products to assist with trash separation. Managers will need to think proactively to stay ahead of legislators. While the U.S. has been lagging in trash law, some regions have been especially aggressive. The push to ban plastic bags, styrofoam, and drinking straws often make it easier for a firm to implement a more environmentally friendly policy in all operations, rather than in just the states impacted. So laws passed in one region may have a far larger impact. Globally, European legislation is requiring many tech firms to reclaim products at end of life. Already 67 countries have enacted legislation to deal with e-waste they generate. Apple claims its Daisy recycling robot that can take apart 200 iPhones every hour and says it diverted 48,000 metric tons of electric waste from landfills in its first year. Apple has publicly stated it has set a goal to make all of its products only from recycled or renewable material. Thinking deeply about the ethical consequences of a firm's business is an imperative for the modern manager. The worst cases expose firms to legal action and can tarnish a brand for years. Big firms are big targets, and environmentalists have been quick to push the best-known tech firms and retailers to take back their products for responsible recycling and eliminate the worst toxins from their offerings. Most tech firms have continually moved to eliminate major toxins from their manufacturing processes. All this demonstrates that today's business leaders have to be far more attuned to the impact not only of their own actions, but also to those of their suppliers and partners. Based on the author's take on e-waste management, a manager would do well to learn that disposal and recycling partners must be audited with the same vigor as supplies and other partners. Several certification mechanisms can help shed light on whether a firm is dealing with responsible trading partners. Managers looking for advice on properly dealing with obsolete technology hardware can 1. Consult the eStewards program. The Basel Action Network eStewards program certifies firms via a third-party audit, with complaint participants committing to eliminating e-waste exports, land dumping, incineration, and toxic recycling via prison labor. 2. Seek advice from the International Association of Electronics Recyclers, or IAER, which also offers audited electronics recycler certification. 3. Look for partners with ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 certifications. Firms certified as either attest to quality management environmental processes. 4. Investigate other resources provided by the Basel Action Network. Standards, techniques, and auditing practices are constantly in flux, so one should consult these organizations for the latest partner lists, guidelines, and audit practices. Gordon Moore, founder of Intel, has also emerged as one of the world's leading supporters of environmental causes. The generosity of the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation includes, among other major contributions, the largest single gift to a private conservation organization. Silicon Valley's leading venture capitalists, including Sequoia and Kleiner Perkins, have started multi-million-dollar green investment funds targeted at finding the next generation of sustainable environmental initiatives. And as mentioned earlier, Apple has even worked to automate responsible recycling by robots. Environmentalists see this pressure to deal with e-waste as yielding results. Most tech firms have continually moved to eliminate major toxins from their manufacturing processes. Plan a trip to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and the park is armed to leverage tech to streamline your experience, delight you at every turn, and keep you spending. The centerpiece is the Magic Band, a stylish rubberized waterproof wristband mailed in advance to guests' homes. Bands can be used for park and attraction admission, for keyless entry into your Disney hotel room, to pay for rides, and to locate your group to deliver restaurant meals, personal greetings, match you to photos taken by park photographers and attraction cameras, and more. And of course, the tech is tied to your credit card so you can pay for everything with a wave of your wrist. Each band is packed with low-cost, high-powered technology, courtesy of Moore's Law. Magic Bands are part of a broader set of technologies that Disney calls My Magic Plus that link together various systems that include the web and mobile My Disney experience to plan and share your vacation itinerary, manage your schedule, and deliver GPS park maps that schedules to smartphone apps. The FastPass Plus ride reservation systems and the Disney Photo Pass that stitches together a custom media album gathered from your visit. The Magic Band rollout in Disney World's Be Our Guest restaurant, inspired by the fairy tale dining experience in Beauty and the Beast, launched to glowing reviews. Guests arrive at the restaurant are greeted by name by a hostess that gets a heads up on her modified iOS device. The kitchen already has the order you've made online. Receivers on the table in the walls know where you are, so your food is whisked right to you, as if you were Belle herself. Magic Band can also turn a long ride wait into a time-filling interactive experience. Band up as soon as you arrive in Orlando. Then your band is your room key, park admission ticket, pass to zip into any rides you've reserved in advance, and payment method. Disney systems will also make sure your luggage is delivered to your room. The band can also turn a long ride wait for the Epcot Test Track ride into a time-filling interactive experience with touchscreen auto-design sessions where users create their own car for integration into the attraction. Guests use the park's website and apps before they show up in Orlando. Information from these systems, when coupled with real-time data collected from Magic Band wearing guests, delivers more insight to tailor many more service improvements, so the device means big data and big benefits for Disney. With My Magic Plus, park systems crunch data so the Mouse House can craft a custom guest itinerary that eliminates a frustrating zigzag across the many realms of the Magic Kingdom. My Magic Plus books ride reservations to minimize wait and spread out guests to further cut line time. With an average of 8,000 to 10,000 guests flowing through the park's main entrance every hour, big data analytics and efficient scheduling algorithms keep everyone happier. Data helps Disney know when to add more staff at rides and restaurants, how to stock restaurants, snack bars, and souvenir stands, and how many costumed cast members should be roaming in various areas of the park. Disney says the Magic Band and supporting systems have cut turnstile transaction time by 30%. Guests are spending more money, and systems have increased efficiency to the point where Disney World can serve 3,000 to 5,000 additional guests per day. Disney had the backing of executive leadership who also provided resources to support the complex and expensive My Magic Plus project. Many disparate teams were impacted by the My Magic Plus project, presenting political challenges in a project so large. These systems don't come cheap. It's estimated that Disney spent $1 billion on My Magic Plus. Moore's Law turns embedded technology at scale, a once impossible proposition, into a now justifiable business enhancing expense. At Disney, this translated to more than 28,000 hotel doors replaced, 283 park entry points upgraded, 6,000 plus mobile devices deployed, 30 million square feet of Wi-Fi coverage installed, and 70,000 cast members Disney's name for its employees, received My Magic Plus training. Putting technology on the wrist of every guest also adds a marginal cost. The early prototype for Magic Band came in at $35. Moore's Law, savvy engineering, and buying at scale kicked in, and manufacturing costs for bands are now below $5. Additional services on deck include sharing data so that hosts and costumed cast members can issue birthday greetings and rollout of even more interaction, such as animatronics that call you by name as you walk up to them. Look for even deeper integration with Disney World areas, Pandora, World of Avatar, and Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge. Full rollout at other parks is less clear, but the Disney Attractions empire is massive and includes the parks in Anaheim, Paris, Shanghai, Tokyo, and Hong Kong, cruise lines, adventure travel, arcades, and ESPN properties. It's suspected that Magic Band wouldn't roll out in Disneyland in Anaheim because the restructuring costs for a much smaller park wouldn't be efficient. Shanghai users may opt for a mobile phone experience, given the higher penetration and usage pattern of smartphones. Learning and various system components are expected to show up worldwide, with the firm stating it plans to roll out variations on My Magic Plus. On deck is the new Disney Genie, an app that makes planning a trip to massive Disney World far easier. Simply tell the system your interests: princess experiences for the little ones, Epcot foodie tours, thrill rides for adults or older kids, and the app will evaluate millions of options and arrive at an optimal plan. No doubt AI is involved behind the scenes. The app will dispense tips and advice throughout a guest's stay and will respond to last-minute changes if a guest modifies their interests on the fly. Disney parks have an annual admission of over 120 million guests a year, so innovations and bar-setting experiences have a massive influence on overall customer expectations. Universal has already introduced its Tapu Tapu wearable, which will vibrate with alerts and includes a screen notifying users when it's time for their ride. No long queue needed. Expect players in other hospitality and entertainment markets to study Disney's magic in hopes of creating a bit of sorcery of their own. This is the end of Chapter 5. Thank you.